Welcome back to this week's edition of the Geschmack of our podcast. This week's Parshas Chayei Sara. Avram Avinu is getting on in his years. He's growing old. Hashem has blessed him with everything. It says, Hashem beirach es Avraham bakol. Hashem blessed Abraham with everything. Does that mean a man, like a son? Does that mean he blessed him with a daughter? Does that mean that he blessed him with everything, literally? Dispute amongst the commentaries. What does it mean Hashem blessed him with everything? Regardless, Avram Avinu feels that it's time to find a suitable match for his son Yitzchak. I'm going to die soon. We need to find someone for Yitzchak to marry, and no one here is a suitable match. The first shidduch crisis, and definitely the first shidduch inquiry, phone call, or eventual shidduch date. And there's a lot of segulas and things to do this week, bitnin of a shidduch. And it should all be, this Parshas podcast should be a schos for anyone who needs a shidduch, that it should come very, very soon. Avram Avinu calls in Eliezer and says, go travel far away across the known land, find a shidduch for my son. Eliezer has a very good question. What if she won't come? And that is very plausible, and probably even likely that she will not come, because why would a girl who lives hundreds of miles away, if not thousands of miles away, come with a servant who's promising a master right across the world? Why would she come? The lashon of the pasuk, it says in Perek Chav Gimel, pasuk Hey, Vayomer Elav ha'eved. The Eved said, Ulai lo sa'eveh ha'isha. Maybe she will not come. V'lechaz acharei el haaretz hazos, to come back with me. Good question. Regardless, Eliezer takes his mission, travels, looking for a wife, famously sees Rebecca by the water, divine intervention, the shidduch is made, this is the one, and she decides that she's going to come with Eliezer. But before she decides this, there's an entire episode happening in her dad's house. Eliezer's invited into Lavan and Besuel's house, and they ask him, what are you about? Who are you? Is this a good shidduch? And Eliezer goes on and on, saying the entire story. It's very interesting. I implore you to look at it. Describing why he's there. It's literally verbatim and verse by verse a quote of a chapter earlier. My master's Avram, and now I'm here, and then I saw Rivka, and then Rivka looked like this, and then I gave her this, and now I'm here. It's very interesting. Especially we know Rabbi Akiva was able to darshan every single letter of a crown of a letter, of a nekuda, of a vowel in the Torah, and here we have endless psukim that seem superfluous. But there's one difference between the first time this story is relayed and the second time. And that's the word ulai. When Avraham Avinu told Eliezer, go to the land to find a shidduch for my son, and Eliezer responded, but ulai, maybe she will not come back. Later on, when Eliezer is describing to Lavan and Besuel what happened, the pasuk says Eli, forgets, or it does not forget, it ditches the vav. What happened to the vav? Says Rashi. Eliezer had a son himself. Had a daughter himself. And Eliezer has an ulterior motive. Eliezer, when he said to Avram the first time, or the only time, what happens if the girl will not agree to come back with me? Although it seemed like an innocent question, and he meant it as an innocent question, he really meant not ulai, like maybe, rather Eli, for me, or to me. What Eliezer was asking, Avram understood, was, do you really want the girl to come back? Do you really want to do this job? Or is there an element here of that you're okay with not finding a shidduch, so that ultimately your daughter can marry my son? And it's pointed out by Rav Volba, the Alishar's grandson, that the idea here of self-honesty, the idea of self-introspection and breaking apart and peeling ourselves apart to make sure that we have the right motives. It's very interesting that our entire view of ourself, if you think about it, is mostly based on how people view us. Most of the time, people tell us what we are since we're a kid, and it imposes some amount of restriction. I am this because this is how people see me. How often do we get a chance to just do self-introspection? It's talked about from the Baalei Musar. It's talked about in growing this palace that's inside of us, this neshama, but it's a lost art. They said that, it's a famous story that in Philadelphia Yeshiva, there used to be a minhag. The Rosh Yeshiva would tell the Bachrim that they should go on walks by themselves. And there was one specific Bachar that didn't want to go on this walk. Yeah, it's better to learn, it's better to daven, or I'm busy. But finally, this Bachar agreed to go on a walk after much pushing from the Rosh Yeshiva. And a couple minutes later, this Bachar runs back in and says, I was on a walk by myself, but I met a stranger. And it's because he finally had time to tune out everything and think about himself. How often, or if ever, do we sit down in peace and quiet, take a cup of coffee, go to Starbucks, but don't bring anything? Not to act like a fool, but to really think, what are my motives here? I'm saying this and I'm doing this, but what's my motive here? Why do I give the tzedakah? Think about it, peel it apart. On the outside, we're all doing it probably because of a mitzvah, and that's probably, for most of us, the reason why. But is there an element of, I do it for my name? Do I do it for kavod? Why do I wake up in the morning? What do I do when I stub my toe? Why do I say these words? Different things that if you ask yourself honestly when no one else is around, you'll find that it's an answer that you don't expect. In Yirtzeh Hashem, we should be zeicha to learn from this self-introspection, to redo or bring back the lost art of getting to know ourselves, because steiging and growing in Kedusha starts by knowing what you are and what your potential is. And it's great in all of us, but at least we have to know where to start. A Moridika Shabbos.